Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into something absolutely wild, a truly radical, totally contrarian philosophy by author Xu Feng. I mean, just think about your average morning for a second, right? The alarm goes off, the coffee goes down, and the daily grind begins. We're taught to strive for more basically from childhood. But Xu Feng presents this perspective that suggests our modern drive for success is, well, actually destroying us. If you've ever felt completely burnt out by hustle culture, or kind of wondered if the rat race is really worth all that exhaustion, you are going to find this exploration of his worldview incredibly fascinating.
Pushing people to forge ahead is a devil's trick. Wow. It's an incredibly provocative premise, and it completely flips our society's obsession with hustle culture right on its head. Xu Feng isn't just saying that the grind is tiring or that, we all just need a good vacation. He's actually arguing that the pressure to succeed, to endlessly climb that corporate ladder and constantly achieve is fundamentally unnatural. He sees it as deeply harmful to our existence. It really asks us to consider if ambition itself might actually be a trap rather than some great virtue.
Okay, so to really understand where Xu Feng is coming from here, we first have to look at his underlying worldview. It relies on a concept of strict determinism that he calls the cosmic script. Imagine sitting in a movie theater, right? But the ending of the film is already shot, edited, and in the can before you even read the script. According to his view, the universe has already written the play, and we're all just actors assigned to very specific roles. Whether we actually like the part or not, the script is already locked in.
And according to Xu Feng, this cosmic script covers literally every conceivable detail of our lives. He argues that whether someone becomes a high-ranking politician, a beggar on the street, or some brilliant scientist, it has all been written in advance. This predetermined path includes everything: your lifespan, your health, your wealth, right down to the specific blessings you'll enjoy and the sins you'll commit. So in his framework, trying to force yourself into a role you weren't meant for isn't just difficult, it's an active, exhausting rebellion against the cosmic script itself.
Now, Xu Feng uses agriculture to really ground this philosophy and illustrate his point. And it's a pretty stark comparison. Think about it. If a farmer intensely fertilizes and waters a Chinese cabbage, sure, it's going to grow plump. But no matter how much water or care it gets, it never magically turns into lettuce. Similarly, if you feed a sheep an endless supply of the absolute best grain, it gets fat, but there is no way it transforms into a cow. The argument here is simple. You just cannot force something to become what it inherently isn't, regardless of how much you nourish it or push it.
The author argues that animals just do what they are meant to do, totally naturally and without any anxiety. Giraffes don't stress out about growing their long necks. It just happens. You definitely don't see a lion signing up for a master class on zebra catching. And mice, they're just born with the instinctive knowledge to dig holes. According to this philosophy, humans are a part of nature too. If animals don't need motivational speakers, productivity seminars, or a stack of self-help books to live out their natural purpose, Xu Feng really questions why humans feel so compelled to use them.
And he takes this concept a step further into the completely absurd. Imagine standing in a barn demanding that a bull give you milk, or rigorously trying to train a hen to crow exactly like a rooster. It sounds ridiculous, right? Well, Xu Feng argues that when we compel average people to become these wealthy executives or outstanding officials when they aren't naturally wired for it, we're engaging in that exact same absurdity. We're setting up impossible expectations that go completely against a person's natural state, which just creates massive, totally unnecessary friction.
So this leads to a pretty jarring quote. "Work hard to die. Look, the grave is not far away. Run to it quickly." Yeah, it's heavy. Xu Feng believes societal pressure to succeed isn't just unhelpful, it's actively destructive. He translates the deeper, hidden meaning of societal pressure as literally pushing people to an early grave. Think about how this contrasts with all those optimistic hustle and grind motivational posters we see everywhere. When society says, be outstanding and make a fortune, what it's really saying in his view is, burn yourself out and rush toward the end of your life.
To back this up, he cites a truly sobering statistic that really grounds his philosophical argument in real-world data. He points to a report noting over 260 highly successful officials and corporate executives who tragically ended their own lives over just a 5-year period. These are people who played the corporate game perfectly. They won all the prizes society told them to chase, reaching the absolute pinnacle of what we deem success. Yet, according to the author, the immense pressure and the grim reality of that success led to the darkest possible outcome.
How often do we tell ourselves that the next promotion or maybe that next pay bump will be the one that finally gives us peace? We just constantly assume that if we make that six-figure salary or gain high rank, we're finally going to be free and happy. Well, Shufeng asks us to deeply question those assumptions, arguing the exact opposite is true. In his view, acquiring more power and money practically guarantees more suffering. The more you possess, the more you have to protect, the more people you have to manage, and ultimately, the more troubles and pains you accumulate. The author then contrasts high-stress wealth with low-stress poverty, really asking us who is truly experiencing a better life. He draws on his own observations from living in a deeply impoverished area of Zimbabwe. He describes the scene of barefoot children playing in the mud, laughing and dancing around bonfires at night, just radiating pure joy. He starkly contrasts this with children in developed nations, dressed up in stiff, fashionable clothes, practicing piano for hours on end under immense parental pressure to perform flawlessly on stage. It's a pretty intense comparison of where genuine happiness might actually reside.
He shares another fascinating anecdote from his time living with a primitive tribe in the Pacific island nation of Vanuatu. He observes something completely counterintuitive to our modern, always-on minds. These people live in very basic, air-leaking houses. And get this, they spend more than half the year just sitting, chatting, and drinking tea in the shade. They aren't trying to build empires, they certainly aren't checking emails at midnight. And yet, Shufeng points out that doing absolutely nothing but resting and connecting forms the foundation of a deeply joyful and peaceful existence for them.
To really drive this point home, he uses a classic parable. A rich man goes on vacation and sees a fisherman relaxing after catching just a few fish. The rich man tells the fisherman he's totally wasting his potential and immediately lays out this exhausting, multi-step plan. Catch more fish, sell them, form a large fishing team, open a fish processing factory, expand the whole business, and become a millionaire. Why? So that one day, after years and years of hard work, the fisherman can finally become wealthy and vacation on the beach.
For Shufeng, this parable perfectly encapsulates the fundamental flaw in the whole hustle mindset. After hearing that huge plan, the fisherman looks at the wealthy executive and simply asks, "What do you think I am doing now?" It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The fisherman is already enjoying the final step, relaxing by the sea, without any of the corporate stress, the sleepless nights, or the decades of grinding. According to the author's argument, the fisherman achieved the ultimate goal of peace and relaxation by choosing to skip exhaustive hustle entirely.
Now, it's really important to note that the author isn't just preaching this philosophy from some disconnected ivory tower. He actually reveals his own painful timeline of falling for the success trap. 20 years ago, he read Napoleon Hill's famous Complete Book of Success. He got fired up, became incredibly ambitious, and desperately wanted to get rich. The result? Well, his blind ambition led him to be defrauded out of 400,000 RMB. That devastating financial lesson sparked a 2-decade journey of studying life, making his current philosophy the product of a very expensive, deeply personal realization.
But wait, what if you actually like working? Think about something you love doing on a Sunday afternoon, whether it's gardening or reading. Literally no one has to force you to do it. Shufeng addresses this by admitting he himself writes articles day and night. The key distinction he makes here is internal motivation versus external pressure. He writes because he naturally loves it, just like a cat naturally catches mice. If someone has a natural inclination to be a boss, a scientist, or an artist, they're going to pursue it organically, without society needing to constantly urge them forward.
So, if we strip away the hustle and the manufactured anxiety of forced ambition, what does life actually look like in this philosophy? Shufeng outlines a really simple, unforced progression through the natural phases of the human life cycle. It begins with childhood, just playing in the mud. Then youth, focused on chasing romance and going to school. Moving into our prime, falling in love and working at whatever comes naturally. And finally, in old age, just drinking tea, chatting, and quietly watching the flowers fade. Honestly, it's a vision of deep, undisturbed peace.
We end this explainer with Shufeng's ultimate, thought-provoking question. Is it not good enough to just live in compliance with nature? It's a question that challenges absolutely everything we see on social media and everything we read in modern business magazines. It leaves us to genuinely wonder, if we simply stopped forcing ourselves to be what we aren't, might we finally find the peace we've been exhausting ourselves trying to achieve? It is certainly a fascinating perspective to reflect on the next time you feel that heavy pressure to endlessly forge ahead. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.